this isn't what happened. The picture they served me bore no semblance to what had been written, shot, or initially edited. Instead, it was a dismantling of memory and an affront to my very existence, which stirred in me such rage that my then partner at the time ran to seek solace in the sea, whilst I set about destroying the beach cabana we had built. Where is she now? Bandaged up on a Hollywood hillside, sucking alien elixir through a straw as the leaf blowers ring out in her ears like a squadron of hornets. Ah! She screams, self-harmed arms flailing in those Santana devil winds. Will you come dance for me, she shouts through the lightning. Dance for me, oh dance for me, daddy. Her home is on fire and she wants to dance. She stands in the lashing rains, uneasy with today's syringe driver load, and topples into her swimming pool. The maid sees this and continues to plump up the pillows in the master suite. She goes into her closet and puts on one of her dresses, loops some pearls round her neck, and calls her husband. Bring your friends. We have a free house this weekend. My nurse was all chopped up in the back of a van, their dark shadows moving over her body in waves and violating her digital being. When she came to from her poisoning, groggy and grumbling, they retreated to the corners of the automobile so only sounds filled the cabin. The mechanical sounds of sheep crying out for their mothers in the rain before their jaws rusted and dropped into the mud, slept beside the missing children. If she'd had access to her own medicine cabinet, she'd have been more than capable of concocting an antidote, or even a potion that gave her superhuman strength so she could do battle with these furry entities, beheading them with her quick wit, and standing over their meat bodies with her handsome face, as he tried to cover their heads from the blows she executed with a rubber sledgehammer. It was always going to be a prop. They had been at it under the cover of darkness, infiltrating the studio lot, then my edit suite, palming security off with bullion and silk stockings for their mistresses, perhaps a firearm or two, heaven knows. Yet they got in to set about vandalising something I'd spent years creating. Weeks and months of square eyes seduced by flicker and celluloid's allure. A psychedelic revenge thriller reduced to waste. A tape stuck and rotting in the mouth of a playback device. Speed, action, and then for their hairy claws to shred the film, and how they fornicated amongst the spools, spattering them with blood and semen as I lay on this beach in the sun roasting my shell, oblivious to it all. It was too good to be true. Pina colada in hand, awaiting the reviews to come in, to be lauded by the world's most influential media. I should have stopped myself there, held my thoughts in contempt, for the reviews never came because few people saw it, and those who did laughed at its ineptitude, its ridiculous plot that not only forced you to suspend your disbelief, but asked you to leave your nervous tissue at the concession stand where it could suck cola and munch popcorn, a future self, and Zoltar. What was running through their heads when they got to raising my picture to the ground? What was their motivation? That made me laugh. I wanted the actors to just be, do whatever you want, and I'll tell you if you put a foot wrong. By the same reasoning, I should have retracted that question. They had their raison d'etre, and the myself enjoying this re-edit, no matter how much I riled against it. The timing, the pixelation, the judder, the use of an alternative score. It framed the players far better. This distorted vision befitted them. At home, in this new cinematic landscape, they were able to tell what little narrative there was in the original into something strangely coherent, drawing alien visitors from the skies like moths to consume this beacon beneath the giant rock. No, it's not to be allowed. Where does it end if the road you've been accustomed to disappears beneath your feet? Painful retooling, an evolutionary process lays ahead. Who's going to go back to work now with that on their TV dinner lap? The children will be so confused their tiny heads will implode, sending fountains of corn syrup across the lawn, dashing the primrose borders as old folks fry in their mobility scooters, black bones piercing the skyline like tree trunks after a forest fire, a far cry from a Albert Bierstadt canvas. It was all too much to comprehend and sent good honest people to cower amongst their soft furnishings. Not I, he detonates buffalo in the plains, each one a firework illuminating the sky. And here I am being operated on that beach, every edit a cut, an incision in my body that allows the seawater to seep in, not much attention being paid to trying to fix the root cause of the problem, or patch me back up. So absent, I can stare out from a European hospital ward, firmly ingrained in an Eastern Bloc country of the 70s, rickety police cars hearing round corners, haranguing would-be informers. I awake with the chill of a serpent. The salt stings. The mouth is invaded. The lungs fill, and you choke while seeing her in the rocks combing her hair with the severed claw of a beast. Her magnificent breasts searching for the man-child. My partner takes a rag and daubs the blood trickling from my wounds, wrings it out in my eyes. We hold hands, pray for flowers. I hope she cannot see what I see. There will be no birds, nothing out the window of the editing suite. A real money spinner, and now the roulette wheel is spun and its out of control blade springing from the rim and slicing the gamblers in two, and the ship is sinking and about to snap in half. To hell with a love story as the skyscraper crumbles and the zeppelin explodes and the train is derailed. Large pink blob with rubies on its fingers devouring the Fabergé eggs and bodies of the fallen. Keep the gold sewn into your hands. They slash the clothes off their frames and let their starved dogs have a bite as they offer up the metal to feathered gods. A real big mess of soda-stained carpets and buffet, clutching their guts with one hand to use the other to drag themselves across the floor and into the animal compound. Where is she now? Bandaged up on a Hollywood hillside, sucking alien elixir through a straw as the leaf blowers ring out in her ears like a squadron of hornets. Ah! She screams. Self-harmed arms flailing in those Santana devil winds. Will you come dance with me, she shouts through the lightning. Dance with me. Oh, dance with me, Daddy. Her home is on fire and she wants to dance. She stands in the lashing rains, uneasy with today's syringe driver load, and topples into her swimming pool. The maid sees this and continues to plump up pillows in the master suite. She goes into her closet and puts on one of her dresses, loops some pearls round her neck, and calls her husband. Bring your friends. We have a free house this weekend. We'd been travelling the northern shores of Africa as part of our grand tour, the purpose of our mission to find sounds not of this known world. Our production budget ballooned since commandeering a hovercraft that had been left to rot in a concrete pen in Thanet, in which we saw fit to use as a floating recording studio. Having devoured all the provisions, followed by a crew, which we'd earlier enslaved in the Med, before scuttling her off the coast of Benghazi, we found ourselves traipsing the bleached rubbles of its Lungomari, then ventured into the hinterlands by way of horseback, which limited us to carrying a meagre amount of equipment, including 2 analog tape recorders, an STC 4017C microphone, and a phonograph that rode by way of its own steed, whom we named Incitatus, of fond memories of that beast and our many dinners beneath the stars. Having appropriated suitable sonics for use in the film, we left the equipment and some additional tapes in the desert. We were later informed that these antiquated recording devices became an attraction in the outer recesses of the Sandlands. Spoiled and degraded by years of abuse from the hot and arid elements, they'd taken on a life of their own, a mystical soul running through the ferromagnetic material, transistors and capacitors, traversing the green wilds of the circuit boards. The sounds developed wings in avian speech. They took to the air and impregnated the thoughts of sleeping children in mountain homes, frozen by winter's sick, and retrieved their conversations to the dunes, where camels and lizards circled the apparatus in silence, ears open to another universe. The sounds taught them another way of life, and soon they stood upright from their hindquarters and behaved like nuclear families, cooking and pretending to watch TV, as their own dreams were sucked back through the colour cathode ray tube and projected onto the monitors of cars, millions upon millions of vehicles travelling through cities around the globe, metal weavers navigating concrete superstructures. The transmissions attempted to return the people to a period known as the Once, and it partway succeeded, passengers pulling up at bridges and hurtling themselves towards the concrete seas, their smashed bodies leaking into the water supply to be further ingested by other families. And so it spread, a suburban stalker with a flashlight and knife, a screwdriver for the pretty ones, down tree-lined roads in the green dark, the murmur of engines in the distance, transport deciding who to save and who to let die that night. Didn't you know that's why engines conked out in the most inappropriate places? And left you wondering why you hadn't stayed at home watching found footage of cryptids rifling through bins before venturing into home invasion territory. When we were shooting the underwater sequences, we learned of one of the production crew who was on leave due to a motorcycle accident, falling foul of a strange transformative disease. He was convalescing in the attic room of his home when his wife and children found him standing naked in front of the mirror in the wee hours of the morning. He had a vacant look, as if his eyes had been plucked from his skull and all that was left was an empty playground. His ankle, which had been badly crushed in the collision with the snowplow, had miraculously healed, and not only that, was growing a talon that stretched the length of what was once his wife's sewing room, a tapestry denoting the year in which she started mending, proud above the dressing table mirror, which also revealed the man's back in a series of nodes that were pulsating with other organisms inside. Under the sea, we found ourselves befriending a subaquatic tribe. Long presumed fantasy, let alone extinct. We travelled to their compound on the backs of giant turtles and orcas equipped with saddles. They showed us the many wonders of the deep, phantasmagorical creatures and structures that emitted columns of light across spectrums which required us to develop new eyes in order to experience it, and would have stopped the hearts of mortals had they been privy to such otherworldly colours in everyday life. That evening we stayed as their guests in a domed metropolis at an unfathomable depth. They shared their women with us, although we couldn't quite be sure of their gender given the nature of the beasts, and in return we offered them our timepieces. Time is of no consequence here, they said matter-of-factly, accepting our chronometers and tossing something which had allowed man to safely navigate the known world for millennia into a fissure of an indeterminable depth and at an unknown set of borders. Watching these wristwatches disappear like gold pennies, our hosts found her subsequent sombre demeanour perturbing, and quickly sought to buoy her spirits with a distraction. "Come, let us dine on the divine boar and the thunderbird," they gurgled through the black sound, and drawing a mist across an island into which we further disappeared, the shadow of a lighthouse all that was left, before it too crouched down and slunk off into the dark. The seal people are slick grey, their heads slide through the surface, framed by the great swathes of grey oceans. Perfect head, with ears flush to a skull, no hair, and large black eyes that are worlds unto themselves. You stand on the rocks waving them to come closer. They disappear for minutes at a time and resurface. The head's bigger, the eyes wider. Unconscious in a drift of seaweed. On resuscitation, you spew a sick shoal onto the deck of their boat. You try to swim across the decking, snapping at the fishermen's legs, stretching for their throats, and they end up spearing you to the timber. They fill your belly with rum, and you happily bleed to death.